Namaskar, everybody. Uh, Today, I'm going to speak on brief historical account of modern psychology. I'm Vijay Singh Gusain, Assistant Professor in the Department of Yoga Science, Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri, National Sanskrit University, and this video is specifically made for those who are pursuing postgraduate diploma in yoga. So when I say psychology, I mean modern psychology. So before I take you into the journey of the history of modern psychology, let us first understand what we mean by the science. So science is the specific way of asking questions, specific way of asking questions and answering the question. Secondly, the science is the body of knowledge obtained through systematic observation and experimentation. Let us go further. What we mean by behavior right now. So, behavior means any activity that can be observed, that can be measured, that can be recorded. And now understand what do you mean by mental processes. So mental processes here simply means our internal experiences, sensations, hearing, seeing, perceiving, cognizing, memorizing, experiencing emotion, motives, etc. So now we have understood what is science, what is behavior, and what is mental processes. So let us go into the toward the history of modern psychology. So I want to make you realize that two subjects are source of the knowledge about the most subject in the world, most disciplines in the world, and these two subjects are history and philosophy. Why I am saying this? Because psychology itself emerged from the philosophy, modern philosophy, Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, specifically the Western philosophy. The psychology were studied earlier, even before 1950s or so in India, along with the philosophy in the higher education, that means the colleges and universities. Now, why psychology emerged as an independent discipline, separating itself from the philosophy? The first reason is the philosophy is based on merely logic, and the Eastern philosophy is also based on the intuitive knowledge obtained in the state of meditation. Secondly, teachers and scientists of psychology wanted to emerge it as the science, and the science like the science of life sciences, etc. Third reason, science has its own definition and characteristics. Fourth reason is philosophy has its own dilemma and conflicts. That is why psychology was needed to develop as science. So one dilemma and conflict of philosophy is, if somebody hits you at the face, the choice is slap on the same face of the person. And the other choice is, the other philosopher like Gandhi says, if someone hits you at the face, show him the other side of the face and let him slap. So philosophy has its own conflicts and dilemma. So what are the goals of psychology? The goals of psychology is to describe the behavior and mental processes, explain them, predict human behavior and mental processes in the future, and the topmost is to change the human behavior and mental processes toward a better quality life. So let us now understand. In 1879, it is called the birth of modern psychology. Wilhelm Wundt from the University of Germany, University of Leipzig in the Germany, started first psychological lab in 1875, and what he insisted that the psychological method should be as rigorous as that of the life sciences like biology, physics, and chemistry. And he defined modern psychology as the study of consciousness. He used scientific study fundamental psychological processes such as mental reactions, responses to visual and auditory stimuli. Wilhelm Wundt was responsible for the first school of modern psychology, and the name of the school was called Structuralism. And students of Wilhelm Wundt started psychological lab across Europe and America. For example, Harvard University, Yale University, Columbia University, Catholic University, University of Pennsylvania, Cornell University, Stanford University. In continuation with the structuralism, another pioneer emerged called Edward B. Uh, Titchener, and he was a student of Wilhelm Wundt. He also continued with the school of structuralism, and he thought the first major school of thought in psychology and maintained that the complex conscious experiences can be broken down into elementary structure. The sensation of hearing, seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, and also the feeling. And his method of scientific study was called introspection. Let us now move forward with another school. In 1883, first American psychological laboratory was started by G. Stanley Hall. He was the student of William James, who is called the father of the another school of psychology called functionalism. So he became the first PhD in psychology in the United States in 1878, and he founded the first psychological research lab in USA at John Hopkins University at Baltimore. He founded the American Psychological Association, which is quite popular for determining the standards of studies, curriculum, methods, investigations, rules for licensing the psychologists and counselors. He started the American Psychological Association. Another student of Wilhelm Wundt, Mary Calkins. So Mary Calkins, 1863 to 1930, was one of the James student at Harvard University, and she became the first woman to earn PhD in psychology at Harvard, but she never received it. She later became the first female president of the APA, American Psychological Association. Students of William James who contributed to the modern psychology, Mary Wilton, Kelkin, and Margaret Flo Washburn. In the Wesley College, she became the teacher of experimental psychology. Harvard University refused to award her a PhD in psychology, and she researched dreams, memory, and personality, and she was the first female president of American Psychological Association. About the Margaret Flo Washburn, Titchener's first doctoral student Cornell University. She was a female to earn first official PhD in psychology. She studied mental processes in different animals. She studied the animal's mind, and she became the second female president of the American Psychological Association. Let us learn more about the structuralism which was found by the Titchener and of course Wilhelm Wundt. Introspection was the basic technique. So introspection was a technique used in which the subject respond in response to the stimuli. The subject was exposed to the variety of sensual stimuli, light, sights, tree, plants, some hearing elements, some smelling different type of, or they were asked to record them. What does introspection means? Introspections means to look inside oneself, look within. So if you want to understand building the blocks of basic processes, we will be able to put it together to understand complex processes. And this was the main idea, assumption of structuralism school and Edward Titchener basically. So let us now understand the psychology between pre 1920 Wilhelm Wundt. So William Wundt tried to experiment, and he started the first experimental lab. Who was William Wundt? He was a physiologist, and he basically started perceptual psychologist, founder of the psychology as a science. Edward Titchener was another who follows the school of structuralism, and he was a student of Wilhelm Wundt and formed a psychological lab at Cornell. Now comes the another part, another start of another school here, which I call, which was more about the psychology as understanding of the mental processes. And it was started by Williams James. So Williams James, he was a philosopher and psychologist, and he started a psychological lab at the Harvard University. He attempted to understand mental processes, and he was also the father of the second school of psychology called functionalism. So let us learn more about the functionalism and William James. William James was the first American psychologist felt that structuralism was too limited and founded functionalism. The functionalism which studied how complex mental processes evolve because of the life-preserving functionings. He studied not only the observations but also how mental processes, emotional and self-concept work to influence the behavior. How do people function? That was the main idea of the William James. William James was an American psychologist, of course. The functionalism was his idea of a school, emphasized the studying of purpose of the behavior and mental experiences. He wanted to know the cause of the behavior, cause of the mental processes, which is the part of the modern psychology. And he offered the first course in experimental psychology at Harvard University. So uh, let us move forward. Structuralism versus functionalism. Structuralism attempts to analyze the consciousness into basic elements like elements of sensation, elements of feeling, and study how they are related. And introspection was their method. Then what is functionalism? Functionalism attempts to investigate the function or purpose of the consciousness, purpose of the behavior and mental processes rather than the structures of the consciousness. And let us now move forward. All these psychological schools started one by one. First started at the lower level was structuralism, then the functionalism, later started behaviorism and biological psychology, uh, psychoanalytical school and humanistic school and many more. Here I am presenting the different perspective or topmost perspective of the psychology which are now popular, which comes under the accepted psychological theories, which are the basis of modern psychological understanding, theories, experiments, practices. And these top five schools are behavioral school, psychoanalytical school, also called psychodynamic school, biological psychology, humanistic psychology, and cognitive psychology. In my next lecture, I will teach you about the different perspective of the